Wednesday, July 8. Welcome to CGN News. Jamaica's Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke, announced an extension of the government's COVID-19 assistance program, the SET, set cash aimed at workers laid off because of the pandemic, and the BEST BEST cash grants aimed at tourism employees will extend to August 2020. They were expected to end in June. The extension of the programs will benefit just under 50,000 workers who are earning up to $1.5 million a year. Clarke said the grants are valued at $18,000 a month. He also said, with Jamaica now approaching 120 days since some businesses were forced to close because of COVID-19, there is the potential for employees to initiate redundancy requests. Two of Bermuda's leading cabinet ministers resigned on Monday night after attending a party at a restaurant where COVID-19 regulations were breached. National Security Minister Wayne Keynes and Tourism and Transport Minister Zain De Silva left the cabinet after they accepted an invitation to resign from Premier David Burt. A short video clip making the rounds on social media showed guests dancing in proximity without face masks, including Keynes and De Silva. Keynes had granted permission 24 hours earlier for more than 50 people to gather at the party, a fundraising dinner for the charity Meals on Wheels. A frustrated Premier Burt said in a statement, "The events of this weekend seen widely on social media did not represent the government's months of struggle and hard work to keep Bermuda safe." Burt further said every citizen has been forced to make significant changes in how they live, work and socialize, and ministers are no different. Barbados has imported its newest COVID-19 cases via a repatriation flight. The acting chief medical officer is calling on citizens not to relax their safety precautions. Prime Minister Mia Mottley has cautioned citizens that the ease in restrictions could be halted and reverted as necessary to protect everyone. Acting CMO Dr. Kenneth George reminded the public that while Barbados had not recorded a new case for several weeks prior to yesterday's COVID-19 positive case, the pandemic is far from over and residents need to continue to act responsibly. Barbados is set to reopen to commercial flights from July 12. The Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, will rule today whether it has jurisdiction to hear an appeal filed by the People's Progressive Party or the People's Progressive Civic, seeking to set aside a decision of the Court of Appeal that Guyana's president must be elected based on the majority of valid votes cast at the general and regional elections held in March. Today, the CCJ will in effect bring the debate to a close with its decision. If it rules that it has no jurisdiction, the decision of the Court of Appeal will remain enforced, and the order, which was issued by the CCJ blocking the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, from declaring the results for the elections, will be lifted. The People's Progressive Party, or Civic's lead attorney, Trinidad's senior counsel Douglas Mendez, has urged the court to assume jurisdiction. It is reported that Mendez's claim is supported by other attorneys from the Caribbean and the United Kingdom. Guyana's Constitution and the Caribbean Court of Justice Act have effectively ousted the jurisdiction of the regional court from adjudicating on any decision made by the Guyana Court of Appeal, and as such the CCJ has no jurisdiction to entertain the appeal. Overseas now, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has tested positive for the novel coronavirus. Bolsonaro announced his diagnosis to journalists, saying he had begun feeling ill on Sunday. The right-wing leader, 65, has consistently downplayed the threat of the virus, describing it as nothing more than a little flu. He also suggested that his past as an athlete would make him immune to the worst symptoms of the disease. Bolsonaro has confirmed that he's taking hydroxychloroquine, a malaria drug touted by President Donald Trump as a possible preventative treatment for the disease, as well as azithromycin. Neither drug has been proven to be an effective prophylactic or treatment for COVID-19. Australia's second largest city, Melbourne, has begun a second lockdown in response to a spike in new coronavirus infections. 5 million residents will be barred from leaving home for 6 weeks, except for essential reasons. Police say they are setting up a ring of steel around the city with checkpoints anytime and anywhere to enforce the measures. Borders between Victoria, of which Melbourne is the capital, and neighbouring states closed on Tuesday. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said he was proposing measures to slow the return of Australian nationals from overseas. At least 239 people have been killed and thousands arrested in more than a week of unrest in Ethiopia, after popular musician Hechelu Hundessa, who had been a rallying voice in anti-government protests, was shot and killed. The streets erupted in protests of outrage. Hundessa, an Oromo, supported Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and was instrumental in Abiy taking power in 2018. Abiy swiftly introduced political reforms that also opened the way for long-held ethnic and other grievances in Africa's second most populous country. Ethiopia has held a long history of ethnic grievances between the Oromo and Amhara tribes. The Oromo make up Ethiopia's largest ethnic group and are frequently referred to as marginalized majority that was locked out of power until the last election. Local reports have said that in some places, ethnic Oromo have attacked ethnic Amhara, and in the Shashamane town, some people were going from house to house, checking identity cards and targeting Amhara residents. Businesses have now begun opening slowly in Oromia after the violence in which several hundred homes in Ethiopia were burned or damaged. Kenya's education minister has said schools should either refund parents the school fees paid for this academic year or agree to put it towards next year. George Magoha was responding to concerns raised after his announcement that primary and secondary schools would reopen in 2021 as coronavirus cases in the country were rising. The ministry said all students would repeat a year as schools had closed in mid-March, 3 months after the school calendar had begun. Final year exams, usually taken in October and November, were also cancelled. Parents had expressed concern over school fees paid for this year. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.